How do we cope with the burden of memory, with the ghosts of the past? How do we process death? And why do we seek a new life abroad while thousands of refugees would give anything to lead the lives we lead? These are questions that Malaysian filmmaker Edmund Yeo attempts to address in his work, and by the end of this piece, I'll hope to have convinced you that his films are a must-watch.
I wouldn't exactly imagine I would be making the sort of films that I'm making now due to the sort of influences that I had growing up.
Far away from the commercialism of Hollywood blockbusters, Edmund Yeo's films are at the other end of the spectrum of cinema. Quiet, contemplative, serene, but with undertones of trauma and frustration. Yeo's 3 feature-length films and his dozen or so short films often share these characteristics while telling very different stories. Yeo grew up in Malaysia and studied film at Waseda University in Japan. The influences from both countries are clear in the characters and locations we see in his stories. Many of these stories involve sudden shifts in character perspectives halfway through the film, a technique inspired by Wong Kar-wai. Much like Wong Kar-wai and other authors like Nuri Bilge Ceylan, Edmund Yeo is an intuitive filmmaker, often getting his actors to improvise their lines and deciding not to use storyboards. His team sometimes decides on how to shoot a scene only after reaching their shooting location, which makes it even more impressive that he manages to achieve some astounding imagery.
What really inspired me was that, for example, like Ceylan, the great Turkish master filmmaker, his films are very beautifully composed and very beautifully, staged. Well, I remember attending his Q&A session in the Dubai Film Festival. What he said was I don't storyboard. Once he said that, I'm like, yes, I'm, in a way, because for him, it limited his creativity. Because he didn't want to set up all this limited. I mean, for him, it's a limitation. Once I've drew them out, I have to start following these things. It gave him or me less space to explore.
One of Edmund Yeo's earliest films, a 2008 short story entitled Fleeting Images, was a broad contemplation of a man's travels around the world as he juxtaposes the stress and intensity of big cities with the peace that he observes in impoverished communities. But most of his films after this tread on more focused themes, specifically death, memory, and relocation. An early example is his short film, Kingyo, where Yeo uses an ingenious split-screen technique to tell the story of a Japanese man haunted by the memory of his deceased wife and the lover he once had. Whereas his next film, Inhalation, follows a Malaysian woman frustrated by her mundane life attempting to move to Japan. With Inhalation, Yeo portrays a common mindset in Malaysia where people believe studying and living abroad will allow them to access better opportunities and live better lives.
Throughout my 20s, that entire decade, I wasn't really in Malaysia. Getting into films, I had the opportunity to travel quite a lot, to film festivals or for my work, But being away, that it gave me a lot of distance from Malaysia, which allowed me to look at my own country in a different way. There were a lot of things that that were around me, but I didn't really pay attention to, like the politics, the history, because I was like, well, who cares about history? It's sejarah, it's what we had in textbooks, But I think being away, it allowed me to question what I've learned.
Inhalation ended up winning Edmund Yeo a Best Film Award at the Busan International Film Festival. Yeo built on his success and in 2014 released his first feature film, River of Exploding Durians. Like many of his shorts, Yeo's characters constantly ask themselves, what are we doing here? As if they are in a constant trap of stagnation. These characters are burdened by ghosts of their past relationships as they ruminate on painful memories of a long gone time. These ghosts appear as real people in the frame with our characters, a technique Edmund Yeo often uses in his work.
I think to make it authentic, I always had this desire to inject my own feelings into the characters. I have a very Buddhist sort of upbringing. Maybe in a way, I liked exploring our relationship with memories and the past in the form of ghosts, in the form of spirits.
Yeah.
I feel that maybe what the ghosts that really haunt us are not really the horror sort of ghosts, but more like things we have done in the past. So I mean, I was probably influenced by books I've read or films that I've watched back in the past. So they all accumulated and became like stories that I like to tell.
River of Exploding Durians commented on the effect of industrialization on the environment and the people of surrounding communities. This mirrors a real-life event from 2012, where environmental protests were held against the construction of a rare earth refinery on Malaysia's east coast. What's haunting about this film is that it also predicted an actual disaster 5 years later, when illegal dumping of chemical waste in a South Malaysian river poisoned thousands of individuals. By that time, Yeo had already completed his second feature, Aqerat, or We the Dead, a film that won him the Best Director award at the Tokyo International Film Festival. Here, Yeo expertly takes the desire of our main character to move abroad and juxtaposes that with the very politically relevant topic of Rohingya refugees illegally entering Malaysia near the Malaysian-Thai border. Yeo decides to portray the brutal violence imposed on these refugees and captures it in a handheld, documentary-esque style, putting us side by side with these refugees and the people involved in trafficking them. This becomes even more powerful today as Malaysia has recently been named one of the most severe offenders of human trafficking. And with Aqerat, Edmund Yeo is not only shining a light on these issues, but also asking the audience, what is the price of freedom? While freedom is in many ways an end goal for characters in Edmund Yeo's movies, the one aspect of his films where freedom has been impeded is where his films can be shown. Because as important as his films are, none have ever been screened in Malaysian cinemas. Yeo himself has stated in a Variety interview that this is due to censorship and the fact that his films were art house stuff. What's sad about this statement is that it's largely true. Malaysia is known to have strict censorship policies where elements like prolonged kissing, swearing, and nudity are aggressively cut from many theatrical films. And while I'm guessing that art house cinema is comparatively less popular in most regions of the world, it's a well-known anecdote that Malaysians much prefer Hollywood blockbusters over quieter indie films. If these indie films were shown in Malaysia today, it's unlikely that they'd become commercial hits.
Our film culture is like this, so we have a huge appreciation for Hollywood films. And Hong Kong cinema in a way that you won't even see in other countries. But it's more like a taste, moviegoer's taste. Like these are the sort of stuff that you're more exposed to as a kid. Cinema is more like it's more for entertainment. It's more like passing time, getting a lot of friends to watch you. So cinema is not really like art or literature here. I mean, art is like a dirty word in Malaysia. I mean, we have an education system where we were not really taught to appreciate the arts or the culture, because our education system is more about getting A's and getting our values are more about becoming rich and becoming someone who serves society. That's more. They were more like the things that we value above others. I don't think that's good or bad. I think in a way I have to accept the fact that our film culture is very different.
Now, I'm not saying that we should be choosing art house stuff over blockbusters. I mean, I'll still be there opening weekend for most Marvel movies, but I think that cinema is like a diet for the soul, where exploring different films nourishes your mind in different ways. A balanced film diet is important for us to understand the sensibilities, histories, and ambitions of different cultures. And for Malaysians and those interested in Malaysian film, films like Edmund Yeo's are an important part of that balance. And wherever you're watching from, I'd encourage you to openly explore film. You never know when, like me, you come across some hidden gems. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video, and thank you to Edmund Yeo for his time and thoughts. I highly recommend watching all of Edmund Yeo's films either on YouTube or on Mubi. I'll be back next time with another video, so until then, stay safe, stay hyped, and I'll see you next time.